Hi, everybody. While I wait for everyone, I am going to lean in all the way and show a side I don't really normally show, but I feel drawn to do so. And so I'm going to create a space that is very clear as possible. Lighting some sage, going all wooey on you. And this is sage, for those of you who don't know, and I have a little Palo Santo, which is a wood that is cleansing. I'm lighting that too. So, a lot of folks in the last few days, including our show, have done tributes to our dear friend Michael Brooks. And, you know, I realized when we did our tribute on Tuesday night, it's Thursday now, when we did our tribute on Tuesday night after Sam and the Majority Report did their tribute, I realized, first off, I wasn't really at a place where I was able to speak. I wasn't in a space where I felt comfortable mourning publicly. I think everybody has been pretty numb, and everybody processes these things in their own ways. And for those of you who have grieved friends before, you know what I'm talking about. And I look at people like Michael Brooks. I'm sorry, I look at you, see what I'm saying? I look at people like Sam Cedar, and I just have such deep respect for him. I'm not really sure how he carried that show on Tuesday. I don't know how everybody on the team has been able to step up, people that worked with Michael on a daily basis, how they were able to step up and speak with such eloquence and reflection and composure and truly get almost immediately the kind of like essence of Michael. And what I learned through all of that, watching other people share their stories and my asking questions on our show, and my sharing my stories, is everybody, this is sort of how humans work, right? Everybody had a very different experience with Michael. And I don't even think I truly understood, and I regretfully so, I don't think I really understood what Michael meant to me as a friend. I can't imagine what his sister is going through, and his family and his partner. So I want to make sure to send them love and ask you to do the same thing, because they're really in it right now. And Michael's sister was on the show, Leisha. I don't really know how she was able to step up and go on camera and talk from the heart, and tell people what had happened. And so I really, truly just, I'm asking you folks to send them as much love and good energy as you can at this time. And please send it to everybody on Michael's team and to Sam. And so I want to start off, and I'm sure they're, close friends and family members of Michael's as well, but these are just people I've come in contact with. And so I just want to start off by creating that space and asking those of you who loved Michael to send that love to his immediate group of folks. And I know many of you know Sam from the Majority Report, obviously. So please, think about him, and David Grissom, just everybody who's Matt Lech, everybody around Michael, who dealt with him on a daily basis. Michael is a friend of mine. I was trying, because everybody's doing this. They're going back to their text messages and going back to old shows and just trying to remember moments. And and then folks are sending me stuff. I can't remember when I met Michael. I can't find the first episode. I know Sam introduced us. I know it was on the Majority Report. I just don't remember when. I mean, the Majority Report, it's also because I watched the Majority Report, so I knew Michael, but I don't know when I actually met him. And it this universe is so small. And, my weakness is that the last 6 years have been so fast paced that I I regret not being present in these moments. I think when people talk about the fog of war, I think it really has to do with that. Things are moving so fast that you're not present for the moments around you, the spectacular moments, the moments of history, the moments of friendship, the moments of love. And all of those things happen along the way, and I recognize them, but I don't think I sat with them. And that's why I can't remember when I met Michael, but I know I've always loved Michael. And we had this, everybody has a unique relationship with him that's been friends, that's shared their stories. So I went back and it started with, I received a video from Bobby O, who was a great supporter of our campaign, and I was laughing and crying simultaneously, and I posted on my Instagram because Michael, during my campaign, and I knew him beforehand, which I'll get to, but I really have been reluctant to kind of think about this. I started to sort of talk about it recently, actually with Michael, and I've mentioned on the show before. Michael was so unbelievably supportive of my campaign. And I have not processed my campaign. I've really haven't spent time thinking about it enough, but it's through people calling me up and saying they met him through our campaign and they got to watch his work, or they met me through him because he was campaigning for me. And I wish, and I regret not telling him more how grateful I was that he was such a strong supporter of ours. And so this is why I'm making this a personal message, because I don't really have a way to tell him now. And that was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. Probably the hardest thing I've ever done in my life is running for office in New York City, in citywide office. The first special election, citywide history, and they had new matching funds rules, and this is just a couple of months after AOC had been elected, and we ran on this radically progressive platform that, really to this day, like some people talk about some of the issues, but to this day, radically progressive. And he heard first off, he's my friend, but he heard I was running, and he immediately jumped in, and he immediately started asking questions. And I don't even remember at what point, because the campaign alone is just so fast-paced that it's like a blur. I didn't remember some of these moments until people started sending them to me. And he just got it. And so Bobby O sent me this video of one of our concerts. So this is the other thing. Like, we had this crazy timeline. We had to, oh God, it was so funny. We had to get 10,000 signatures in a week. Really, the time period was like 3 weeks, but it was the holidays, so nobody was doing that over. And it was the coldest week in New York, I think, in the last 5 years. So that week, usually you have to have a ton of money to do that. And we didn't hit matching funds. We were a scrappy campaign. We didn't hire anybody to do it. It was like volunteer based. We hired folks. We hired people to go out and get signatures. We didn't hire a firm. Like, a lot of people hire consulting firms to do this work, and then they just write it off. So we were hitting the streets in 1 degree temperature during this week. I, as a candidate, was out there 8 hours a day, which is extremely unusual. And we got 10,000 signatures from New York City residents in that. And Michael and Sam were just on their shows, just being campaigning for us, trying to raise the money for us because it's a matching funds election. So we had all of these events that were low-dollar events with all-stars, just really extraordinary. Rosario Dawson, Tommy Sunshine, Michael Brooks and Sam Cedar, bands like Crush Club. And I'm sure I'm leaving out a ton of people because my brain's not there right now. But we had these amazing concerts, Josh Fox, and folks would come from everywhere. And Cenk Uygur came, and they were just these amazing events. And Michael was always a part of them. And he was emceeing them. And he believed as much as everybody talked about his internationalism, he was extremely hyper-local. He saw the connection. And so Bobby O sends this video over to my former campaign manager, Dominique, and I watch it, and I'm in tears, and I'm laughing because it's really funny, too. And, you know, funny because Sam Cedar and Michael have their rapport, and I was, like, in the middle of it, and, you know, I don't know what planet I was on. I was on, you know, Candidate Planet, where your mind's going in a million different directions, and you're thinking of what you have to do and the phone calls you have to make and how you just did, like, 4 other events. But these are my friends, and so it was really fun. And then I went back and I was like, well, when was the first time I went on his show? And I found a bunch of episodes, but I don't think I knew that Michael did so much coverage of our campaign. I don't think I knew it because I wasn't watching anything at that time. I knew he was supporting my campaign. I knew they were doing shout outs because we would get like a flood of donations in every time the Majority Report aired or every time Michael Brooks' show aired. And he would do these segments, these dedicated segments to me. And I've never seen him do that. I don't think so for anybody else. I mean, Lula, yeah. But like, I mean, a candidate. And I just know, now that I know Michael from the perspective of like being a host too and being part of that little Majority Report network, I also recognize how much that meant. And I am so grateful. I'm so grateful to him for that because we ran a very spirited race. We did not get and I actually haven't talked about this because it's been hard to process, but we received matching funds. We did it honestly. We didn't have institutional support. We didn't put money into our own campaign. I personally didn't have that money to do so. We weren't moving old committee money because a lot of these people were elected officials that could just move money over to help them raise the money. We did it from the ground up. And I think it's fair for me to say we might be the only candidates to do that, who didn't lend themselves money, give themselves money, have an institution raising money for them, who didn't bring in money from different organizations. I think that's fair to say. You know, it's been a while, so I have to look at other people's reports. But we did it with the help. We wouldn't have done it without Michael's help. And then, unfortunately, they didn't release our matching funds until 4 days before the election. So it was very hard at that point to like woo the New York Times. It was very hard to build a citywide operation overnight. We were spending so much of our time just organizing, getting on the ballot, getting on the debate stage, and you have to message to voters in New York. And it was a very low turnout election. So I just wish I had the opportunity to really say to Michael how much that meant for everybody, how much everybody loved him, how much everybody appreciated his investment in this local race, this hyper-local obscure office, which actually has a lot of power. And I'm really just, I know I've had conversations with Michael after the campaign, and I know he understood the dynamics. I know he understood so much of the 15-dimensional chess of New York City politics, and I don't think that's actually talked about enough. As much as he was such an internationalist, I mean, we would sit there and we would talk about Puerto Rico for hours, and New York politics and power structures. People don't talk about that either. That Michael understood, having never really worked in politics. He understood power, the way it moved, the way you were supposed to leverage things. And I think it was because he truly understood the lessons from history that he read. And so I just want to say, like, he really got the whole chessboard. He got the international politics, he got capitalism, he got the lessons from history, he got hyper-local, he got how power structures work, he got how institutions work, because institutions almost always get in the way of real movement. He understood the value of DSA and the limitations of DSA. My mom was calling me. How we as individuals have to make our organizations better by holding them accountable. He would have me on to talk about the DNC and ask me the most detailed questions about DNC finances that most people really weren't interested in. And so I really am so grateful that he created that space and that he was interested and he wanted to be your teacher. He wanted to make everyone that was watching his show a more informed citizen, a more active citizen, and have the tools to go out there and use all the information he was providing with his platform to go out there and be a better citizen. So, and I'm going to get to the personal in a second, because that, I think, from my personal relationship with him, you know, I don't talk about a lot about international politics, but we would talk about Greece, and maybe I will actually in the future, to help however I can give tribute to his legacy. We would talk about Greece, we would talk about Puerto Rico, we would talk about Mexican politics, a little bit about the UK, because I spent a little bit of time, I'm not an expert by any means, but I interviewed Jeremy Corbyn, for instance. And then I learned from him. And but going back and watching some of the clips, I mean, I think we were just some of our early days, 2016, when he first started his show. It was a lighter time, and I could see it in him, and I could see it in me, and it was a time of hope for the movement, and I actually think, you know, when AOC got elected, I think that the establishment freaked out. They were already freaked out, but I think they truly freaked out. And that's when they started to go super, super, super hard on the movement leaders that they could mark. The people that maybe they knew from different iterations of politics. And, you know, in some ways, progressives have been able to overcome and win, and in a lot of ways they haven't. And so I think the tension, the stress, and especially in this election cycle, with this primary, you know, weighed on all of us. And I think it weighed on Michael. And I think cancel culture, as his sister said the other day, I know that. When she said that, I was like, those are the conversations I had with Michael. Cancel culture weighing heavily on him, how it's breaking apart our movement, because getting to the personal side now of my relationship with Michael, you know, his friend. I wasn't his best friend. I'm not gonna, I was his friend. He was my friend. He would check in on me. The last text message, I'm not gonna share it because it's kind of funny actually, and personal, but he was like, how you holding up? How you holding up? I was like, holding up. And then we talked about the show, and we talked about logistics and just like things. He was giving me so much advice in launching the show, and the show would not, I'm going to be extremely clear, this show would not be on air if it were not for Michael Brooks. So that alone I'm grateful for. But, you know, we would bitch a lot about cancel culture together and power, and how the lefts needed to understand power and not get distracted by these games, and understand that we are all humans. And if you are running to make this world better, we have to hear that first and not get distracted by the hatred, the fear. Hatred is an aspect of fear that is just being perpetuated over and over and over on the internet. I am extremely guilty of getting caught in the fire of Twitter fights. I know that's why a lot of people don't like me in the centrist capitalist political system. I know that's why a lot of institutions don't like me, because we expose their flaws. Institutions, as you said, go after institutions, not people. So he recognized these things. He wasn't a saint. He understood how we are at war. He reflected on history. He understood that we have to stop falling for their games that are there to divide us. Remember, these are just a few people, right? Monopolies. The monopolies that are controlling our economic system and our political system are hiring people to create drama, to instigate drama, to go out there and, oh, Keith, thank you. I was a friend of Mike's from college. I'm sad he doesn't get to learn what happens next. Solidarity. Thank you, Keith. I am so sorry. I would love to hear stories about him from college and see like how he evolved. Thank you. I appreciate your love there, and I hope that you're you know, this grieving process, and we're all doing it together. So thank you for tuning in. I think this is also why I'm doing this. I didn't really want to. We were struggling as a show. Like, how do we do this? How do we do a show? How do we honor Michael? And I think, like, you know, I'm not used to grieving publicly, and I think nobody is. But I realize that so many of his fans and his subscribers and his viewers and his pals are looking for that space. And so I thank you guys for tuning in. Because that's just like, we have to have that. I get it. Like, this is a community, and we have to be there for each other. And, you know, it's I still don't really understand that. It's like just abstract. Somebody said that today. It's just very abstract still. So I'm just happy that you guys are here. And I guess I just want to share, I guess I thought, it's starting to register to me that it's just trying to register to me how he impacted my life, and very much so in the last year. And I really regret I regret not telling him that, because the pace of life, and this was his lesson. The crazy part of this is that I regret not telling him how much of an impact he had on my life, especially in the last year, right? And I didn't do it because I actually was not fully in his lesson, immersed in his lesson. I said this the other day, like, we took this train to Boston for the Harvard event, which I had no idea how much of an impact that would have on all of us. He was on a panel with Cornel West. He spoke beautifully. On another level, I watched him and I was like, Michael's in a different space right now. We've all been doing this for a while. We have our days where we're better and not as great and frazzled and tired, and the movement gets to us. And sometimes we're just, I don't want to say it's a performance, it's not, but sometimes we're just better. We're just like more in tune. He was on another level. You watch that clip if you haven't seen it. It was, I mean, Cornel West got up. He was just like, it wasn't his A game. It was another level. And that's not an accident. He prepared, he was working hard. And I remember on the train, he told me, I'm doing exactly what I want to be doing in life. I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing in life. And when someone says that, that's beyond like Malcolm Gladwell's like 10,000 hours. That's like when a basketball player, I'm not a sports person, so forgive me, but like a basketball player is in the zone. I used to play tennis. You get into this thing and you're just like, suddenly it's like time and space don't matter and you're just there. It's like some groove in the universe that just opens up, and it's just for you, and it's just for your life's purpose, and it's just for your work, and you're right there and you're super focused, and the universe is using you as a vessel, and you are there with the universe, and your purpose is coming out there. And it's having an effect on others. And that's how I felt when he spoke that day. And I was exhausted after our like 5-hour train ride and our dinner. And he was enlightened. It was alive. He was feeding off of the audience. I mean, there were overflow rooms. This audience was like, I think it was like 250 people in the room, 300 people. There were overflow rooms. We had no idea. That was a very, very special day. And I'm grateful that I was invited and to have been there. And I'm grateful that I was able to take that train ride with him. And it was just sort of an accident, actually. We both just booked the same train ride. But on that train ride, we had a lot of conversations about power and the movement, and again, like, not a saint. We would sit there and we would shit talk, for sure. We'd be like, why are leftists falling for this? They've got to focus. They've got to, you can't get caught up in in the cancellation of this, that is weakness. If you're responding to every impulse, and we've all fallen for that. I definitely have. And that's why it was so important for him to be intentional and take that time away and to take that space and to get that distance and to silence his phone and to do silent retreats and to take weekends off and to go to the Caribbean and to just be with himself and the loved ones and to read. The only way for him not to get sucked into all this and to work for the greater purpose was to have that. You can't be intentional. You can't be focused. You can't be doing your great life's work if you don't create that kind of space to have that flow. There are times for warfare, without a doubt. You know, when you're running for office, that's cute. Like, I remember someone goes, make sure to do yoga. I'm like, listen, I've been doing yoga for 15 years. I don't have time for yoga right now. I get it. I get the value of yoga. I get the value of meditation, right? But when you're running for office, in a special election in particular, it's like, so nice. That's war mode. Like, I don't like to use, yes, it's war. Of course politics is war. Who are we fooling? We're not fooling ourselves here. What is it, like hugs and kisses? No, everybody's going after each other. There's smear artists out there. There are bad actors. There are literally evil people. There's a lot of evil people. But Michael, on that ride, he started, and he was doing this the year before when Michael and Sam, separately we were talking about my show, and Michael was giving me a lot of advice over the holidays. He'd call me, we had very long conversations, and he talked me through what it would take to build the show and how to do it and how to use my audience, my leverage, I guess, and build it out. And it would take time. We didn't expect COVID, of course, and I'm grateful to you guys for tuning in because this is how this show was built. But he was very clear. It's important to tune out the noise. And I have not been as active on Twitter. I am not as engaged in the Twitter fights because, yes, being a Twitter influencer can influence and make your show grow, but at what cost? I become a better host. He becomes a better host if he can be more intentional with his time, if he can go deeper into his work, if he can hear his thoughts, if he can think about the big picture. And the spirit that he talked about, the humanity. I mean, we're all here, right? We're all here doing progressive politics because we care about humans. Because we care about what the weakest member of our society, the most vulnerable person in our society, how their lives are affected, whether we get along with them or not, whether we know them or not. That's what being a progressive is. And yes, with that comes power, with that comes leverage, with that comes political games, with that comes solidarity issues. And he was so firm with the principles of solidarity. And he would say things like, ugh, that person, oh, whatever. I don't care about, I don't get involved in them. I don't get involved with people I don't want to be involved with. I don't invest, better way of saying it, I don't invest my time with folks who are not worth it. And I have a really tough time with that. And he also, of course there are people worth it. He also had to focus on, at the end of the day, there's only so much time in your day. There's only so much time in the world. There's only so much energy. Energy is finite. People have energy. People take energy, they give energy. They are not no energy. Nothing is no energy. Nothing is stagnant. Time is always moving. The world is always moving. The universe is always moving. And it's all energy. And so if someone is sucking time from you and you do not feel replenished, maybe that person's not worth your time. Especially if you need your energy that's remaining to commit to your work. So every moment of our day either feeds us or diminishes us in the long term or in the short term. Every person, every experience, whether we recognize it or not. And I might be getting too metaphysical here, but I think it's not so much about time management, it's about energy management. And if we want to be better humans, activists, movement leaders, organizers, influencers, family members, friends, whatever you want to say, community members. The only way we can preserve this energy of the movement so it is not attacked from every end by the folks who are out there strategizing on how to break us up, it's if we are present with our value, with our intentions, with the people around us. You can't build a movement of solidarity if we're not all present. The more present we are, the more we are aware that they are just trying to divide us. It is so easy to just react to every single hot take from Neera Tanden and her little tribe, or the trolls online, real, unreal, paid, not paid. It is so easy. They feed off of our fear and our anger, and they're sick people. Because in moments like this, where every single element of what the best intentions of this country are at risk, right, are at stake, their focus is on dividing the movement. And so a bullet point script, I had a bullet point script, believe it or not, thank you. But these, this is how we roll here, right? I did have a bullet point script. The bullet point script was, who Michael was in the world, and not just an internationalist, but he was focused on local, how he helped my campaign, his advice, how he looked at time and the movement and solidarity and just the spirituality of it all. And so, I will end it now with the fact that we are in it to change people's lives, to be better people, to create legislation and a government that actually protects the most vulnerable humans on this planet. And he recognized that hyper-locally, he recognized it internationally, and he recognized the connection between the corporate interests, the capitalists, the monopolies, straight up capitalism, worst forms of capitalism, and how it infects our political systems and tries to divide us. And it is why, over and over, solidarity is important. And he was a true friend because he believed in solidarity. He was connected to all of these different media leaders because he believed in solidarity, because we need that in the media. Because they want to divide us, they want to pit us against each other, they want to cause fights, they want to pick apart at us, they want to create fake stories, they want to go back into people's histories and amplify, pasts of folks. Good, bad, wrong, overblown, not true. And I appreciate him understanding the essence of who I am and the essence of who you are and who this movement is. And in the worst moments of my life, the worst, looking back at the photos and seeing the videos of him at my campaign, I remember just how freaking fun our campaign was. It was so awesome. Like, the coolest people were on our campaign. We had the artists, we had the radicals, we had the anarchists. I can't believe the anarchists even got involved in our campaign, and they did. We had such incredible people on our campaign. And I think that some powerful interests saw that and were afraid, and they wanted to steal that from us. And he told me that, and he says, I know who you are, you know who you are, we all get it. And so politics is a dirty blood sport. And it shouldn't be. Because if we are operating from a place of humanity, thank you, Carmen. If we are operating from a place of love and compassion, and how do we make people's lives better? These aren't just campaign gimmicks. It's not about joining a club and being part of a social group because that's the new hip thing. It's not about power. It's about how do we as individuals support each other. And so if we think from a place of humankind and love rather than from fear, which is where power games start to come in, and reaction comes in when they start to come after you and try to divide us and provoke us and instigate. And that, I think, just on the last note, Michael's understanding of history was so rooted in knowing the tricks that they use to divide us. So big picture, to honor Michael, we have to think of the big picture. We have to think of the long game. We have to think about how to use our energy, our limited energy on this planet in the day, in an hour, to be the most valuable. And don't let people, things, haters pull that energy from you. Your energy is yours. You get to decide how to use it. You don't have to give it to them. You don't have to be provoked by them. You don't have to react. You don't have to deal with bad folks. Your life is your life, and if you want to commit it to the movement and to love and transformational progressive politics, it starts with how you release your energy, who you invest your energy in. And so on that, I am grateful that I received some of Michael's energy and his love. I'm grateful that he shared his energy with you guys. And I'm grateful that I learned from him. And I'm grateful that I had time with him. I think we all wish we had more of his time. And I wish that, we could have seen what he could have done in the next several decades. And so if you have a chance, go back to his old episodes and check in on him once in a while and see what kind of nuggets you can pick up, because we're going to need his wisdom. Nobody else really committed to this as much as he's probably one of the most dedicated. He was friends with the highest intellectuals and the everyman and woman. So that's the kind of person we all should aspire to be in our own ways. And so I appreciate you all. We're going to be putting a new episode up. We just put a new episode up. I apologize because I should have warned you. We taped it before we knew of Michael's passing. It was a few days before, but you can check it out on YouTube. We have Morgan Pachma, Nabila Islam, and Robert Greenwald. And next week, we're going to have a special show more dedicated to Michael with Anna Kasparian from TYT, of course. So I hope you all take care of yourself, be well, be kind to each other, preserve that energy, honor Michael.